Welcome to Werewolf the Apocalypse Heart of the Forest, Episode 4. Welcome, I'm King Priam by night to replay Maya, our protagonist. She's in Poland and trying to find more about her family's past and history. Let's see what she can find out. The voice of reason. I took a step back and looked at the bigger pictures. I watched the reporters. The journalists looked bored. They'd all come to the competing outlets, and I suspected that most of them would gladly use any excuse to start reporting. Got any brilliant ideas? Cornell asked me. I grabbed a megaphone. I grabbed a megaphone from the hands of a confused young man, jumped on a nearby tree stump. Audio feedback, screech, and head turns my way. I had one chance to take control of the situation. Fighting always meant collateral damage. We all want to fight, right? I shouted. The police have their orders. We believe the forest is worth fighting for, and the press just loves some spectacular bloodshed, but there's always a price. I consider my next words carefully. We all understand how this works, I continued, considering my next words carefully. Escalating will only bring more problems. We will all be here for a long time. Let's take a step back. They looked at me. I could see the same look emerging on the face of the officer and protesters. Their eyes narrowed, the jaws tightening. A journalist started to laugh. I felt someone grabbing my arm. Someone grabbed me by my arm. I wanted to yank my hands away, but the grip was strong. You better go now, said Cornell. We'll take it from here. The ugly truth. When I was on the road to the village and nobody could see me, I stopped and screamed. A startled flock of birds took off from the trees nearby and filled the air with feathers and movement. In the whole commotion, I lost Annie and Bartek from my sight. I was alone. Or so I thought. Well, you had it coming, a voice behind me said, and I jumped. A woman was looking at me. I said nothing. Angry, I straightened up and said nothing, my throat still sore. We walked slowly towards the village. We talked. I learned that she was an independent German reporter who'd come here about a month ago. Her name was Erika. So, why are you protesting the logging? She asked after a few minutes of small talk. It was my civic duty. I haven't been here for long, I answered angrily, but I've already learned that Poland is ruled by a right-wing party who has total climate catastrophe denialists. I feel Polish and I have all the rights to protest. I looked at her, and why are you asking? She looked at me with renewed interest. Do you know why they are cutting down the trees? She asked back. Because you do know that logging is done by a government company, the state forests. I had no idea. I didn't know that, I admitted. In fact, I knew very little. I know very little about the situation, I realized. Just what the others have told me. Erika reached for her notebook. It all started with spruce bark beetles. Erika looked into her notes and started explaining the whole situation. That year the beetles infestation was of catastrophic proportions, and the foresters decided that the only way to stop it and save the rest of the forest was to cut down as many infested trees as fast as possible. Couldn't they just remove the dead trees? Maybe if they removed the dead trees, the infestation wouldn't spread. I tried to find a solution. They might do that, but the dead trees are what makes the forest unique. Erica smiled. There are 20 times more species living on a dead spruce tree than on a live one. Was cutting down the trees necessary? Is cutting down the trees the only way to stop the infestation? I asked, confused. The foresters state that this is the only way, she said. Some biologists argue that they are cutting the wrong trees and doing it too late to change anything. But was the logging legal? But is the logging legal? I wanted to know. Opinions differ, but such massive logging in a UNESCO-listed area might be legal, Eric answered. Did they have to intervene at all? Couldn't they just leave Pusha alone and let the nature take its course, I asked. That's one of the options, Eric admitted. But there's a drought and no one is sure if the forest will survive on its own. The situation was more complex than I thought, and Eric's answer did nothing to clear the picture. I tried to understand her point of view. I see that you're trying to show me the whole picture, and I appreciate it, I sighed. I just hoped there would be an easy answer. I'm just doing my job, Erica shrugged. I described all aspects of this situation to you, but it's up to you to decide what you want to do. How convenient. She was putting herself in such an convenient position. Unfortunately, I couldn't just pretend that it wasn't my business. At least I was sure that they were cutting down the trees and the Pusha needed my help. What else could I do? I don't know what else I could do, I sigh. I might not see the whole picture, but I prefer acting to denial. I try not to show how scared I was. She looked skeptical. You're not the only one feeling helplessness, she sighed. I'm just helping you make an informed choice. So what was right and what was wrong? So what should I do when I feel that something is wrong? I asked, exasperated. Do you believe that people can be evil? She asked back. Some people were evil, were bad. Some are for sure, I shrugged. But isn't that too easy an explanation? I said nothing. What's the matter? She asked. I told her about my anger. I'm so fucking angry at what I saw. I took a deep breath. Then I remembered what Cornell had said. All that mystical stuff. And they said that I have some family debts to pay. I shook my head. It's a lot to take in, and there was that foul smell back there. She looked at me with a weird expression. What smell? She asked. How come she didn't smell it? You didn't smell it? The harvesters reeked of something, like meat that's been rotting in acid. Only worse. I couldn't even find the words to describe it, but the memory of the foulness still clung to the back of my throat, swimming in my sinews. She looked at me with a strange expression on her face, as though she wanted to say something and then thought better of it. You learn in your own time if you stay here long enough, she said. Clearly wanted to drop the topic. What did she mean? What do you mean? I asked, getting irritated. I just told you, you'll learn in time. Or not at all, which would frankly be better. Anyway, gotta run. As I watched her leave, I thought that whatever was my family legacy had surely manifested itself that day. I guess I'd made some progress. I jumped right into the middle of a very tense situation, and at the very least upset the status quo. Just hope I hadn't made things worse. I walked on in silence. Time to regroup. When I opened the door, I found Annie and Bartek sitting on Anya's bed. They were a little flustered and were nonchalantly trying to look like I hadn't interrupted something. "We lost sight of you," Bartek said apologetically. "I'm glad you made it back in one piece." "So how was your day?" Anya asked. "I learned a lot." "Did you know that the government supported the logging even when it was illegal?" I shared my dismay. "If they support it, it can't be illegal," Bartek crossed his arm. "Of course it can." I threw my arms up, frustrated. Bartek had a point. "You may have a point, Bartek," I admitted. I barged in and tried to solve the problems that I might not yet understand. "It's cool," they smiled. "This whole business is a mess." I met a lot of new people. "I met some very interesting people," I said, still excited. "Yeah, they look like a colorful bunch," Anya grinned. Bartek rolled his eyes and colorful and uninvited. "They sure are passionate. They argue between themselves more than they argue with the loggers," I added. I gave a public speech, I mumbled. "I'm not sure how it went, but a lot of people listened." Bartek looked surprised. "Did you have to get involved in this whole mess?" "I had to do something," I sighed. What was Bartek's problem? "What's your problem?" I snapped at Bartek. "I'm just telling you what happened. There's no reason to be a dick about it. You think that just because you're an American you can barge in and try to solve our problem?" He scoffed. "I'm not the one being a dick." I decided to let it slide. It was all I wanted to share. I shrugged. Just another day in Bielowice. We sat for a while in silence. "You know, there's more to see here than Bielowice," Bartek said to me. "You should visit Pogorzelci, Budy, Termiski, Serlonka. See the open-air museum and the bison. The logging is not all that happens here." "Maybe later." "I love to see it all," I sighed. I do that as soon as the situation with Pusha is resolved. "And how the search for your roots going?" asked Bartek. Clearly wanted to change the topics. I shared what I learned. "It seems that my ancestors lived around the forest for a long time," I said. "And there are some kind of debts to be paid." "Wow." Anya looked surprised. "Honestly, I'm not sure what to think, but if you need something, just let me know." I was tired. I just sat there, looking through the window. The day had been full on and I was exhausted. I didn't notice when I fell asleep. I can do anything. It's quiet now, yet I know deep down inside that something isn't right. I run. I'm running through the forest to the logging site. It's getting dark. The light seeps away as though there are millions of tiny punch holes in the sky through which it can escape, and then the darkness starts to pour in. I know what I will see. And I see the bodies strewn across the ground, bloodied, maimed, and with their limbs torn from the destroyed torsos. I can see some of them are still alive, still struggling for air, still trying to live. They are all trees, fallen trees, still alive, still struggling for air. And there's the stench. I can smell them. The stench is dark, rancid, putrid. There are monsters at the edge of the forest. They have long, skeletal arms. They are wrapped in glistening black intestines, and each arm has a wide, gaping mandible full of whirling blades. They snap at me blindly. My friends are standing by my side. Their eyes shine in the dark, and they are ready. They are angry. I can feel the rage merge with mine. I don't have to say anything. I lead the charge. With a howl, I lead the charge. We clash with the shapes and start to destroy. We bite off heads and tears off arms. We are stuff of legend. Then I wake up. I gaped and bolted upright. I was alone. The sun was setting, and in the deep red light, the room looked like it was bathed in blood. My pillow was on the ground, gutted, and the duvet was in shreds. The air was full of tiny feathers, dancing in the draft from the window. What the fuck was going on? Chapter 3. Standoff. I need to talk. I couldn't get back to sleep since I'd arrived in this accursed village. Things have been getting stranger and stranger with each passing hour, and now I ripped a pillow in half in my sleep. Nothing about it was normal. I needed to talk it over with someone I trusted. Anya was in it from the start. I'd come here with Anya, and despite all the strange things I've done, she still stuck with me. I messaged her and she messaged me back. I'm on a walk, come join me. The sun had just set and the moon wasn't up yet. I started walking. The forest loomed on the horizon. The activist camp were somewhere there. We met near the shop in Bielovetsia. It was a characteristic enough point and easy to get to from anywhere in town. What is it? Anya asked. She looked worried. Something strange was happening to me. I know it sounds crazy, but I think something strange is happening to me. It's driving me mad. There is something strange happening, she nodded, but I have no idea what it is. I know even less than you. She frowned. Maybe we should go to your new friends, the activists. She smiled a little. They are weird. They must know something. It was an option. I mean, they sure know things, but I'm not sure if I trust them. You know what they say, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. She smiled and started walking. Let's go, I'm sure they're not sleeping. Do you mind if I text Bartek? I promised I'd meet him tonight. I didn't mind, and he soon joined us. We went to the activist camp. All together now. The camp had a different vibe than the logging site protest. There were more people there. We looked around, trying to take it all in. The people in the camp seemed quite cheerful. The smells were intriguing. There were tents and I could smell some bacon in the air. People were milling about, setting up camps, singing, preparing posters. It was a joint effort. I was hungry. My stomach growled. I was hungry. I have no idea what your plan is, said Bartek, but you have my full support. Cornell was there as well. Hello, I said as I approached. Cornell eyed me warily. Hello, he said. What brings you here? I was angry. I'm angry, I simply said. Angry about everything that I found out about myself, the forest and the logging. I don't like being angry and not doing something about it. Cornell looked at me with those uncanny grey eyes. I could feel his attention locked on me. And that's why we're here, to stop it, he said. To show, without violence, that we don't agree and that we hope to make a difference. Will it work? Will it work? I asked, skeptically. I don't know. All I know is that it worked for. It worked for Gandhi, it worked for segregation and apartheid in the end. It worked with communism, so let's see if it works with capitalism as well. Violence is not an option here. He smiled, and I think you know quite well that anger doesn't really get shit done. I knew that. I smiled back. Somehow being around him made me feel more relaxed. I know. You can count on me, I answered. I had a family debt to pay, and I couldn't be just an observer anymore. So, we may have a little citizen protest going on tonight, Cornell said. But I'll need your support if you want to convince the others. Well guys, this is all for today. If you liked what you saw, trigger like below and follow for more content like this, and I see you next time.